Welcome back, everyone. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin a buy? Is it undervalued? Is it overvalued? Is Bitcoin itself an investment to speak of? That's a more important question. Answer: if you consider a currency an investment. Do you consider the US dollar an investment? Do you consider the euro an investment? If you do, then you can consider Bitcoin an investment because it is a cryptocurrency. A cryptocurrency. What's a currency? Something you use as a medium of exchange. Now, would you just buy the dollar like you would buy Bitcoin? Then Bitcoin is an investment. Do people buy the dollar? Sure, they do. They invest in Forex. So it's the dollar versus other currencies, right? With Bitcoin, it's generally what the market price is willing to offer. And if you're willing to pay that, it's called a bid and an ask. Now, with Bitcoin, it's kind of different because Bitcoin is completely decentralized. Bitcoin doesn't care what you call it. It doesn't care what you're willing to pay for it. It's not offering a certain price of what it's worth. It's just there. It doesn't care. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's here. Okay. Now, if you read Satoshi's white paper, this is supposed to be a medium of exchange. Now that that's been established, if you want to invest in it, what is it worth? That's the real question here. Now, people are saying, well, I want to buy it because it's a store of value. Okay, well, if it's a store of value, then what value does it have when it comes out of that storage, right? Eventually, it has to come out of the storage. And then you could say, well, gold is a store of value. It's kept in vaults. It's not really a forecast of when it's going to come out of those vaults. But the point is, the reason that it's there is because if it does come out of there, it will have a utility. It will have a use case scenario. Now, what will that be? It could be used in jewelry. It could be used for industrial purposes, right? Immediately, it has a utility. Now, what does Bitcoin have? A medium of exchange. That's all it has. It can't do anything else. You're giving them Bitcoin and they're giving you something in return. That's all it does. And that's very important because it's a great medium of exchange. It can't be compromised. It's stood the test of time. It's crashed many times. It keeps coming back. That indicates it's real. It's no bubble, like people are saying, because bubbles burst and you don't see them anymore. Tulip mania happened and it's gone, never to be seen again. The dot-com crash, a lot of these stocks went bankrupt, never to be seen again. Bitcoin is here because it's real. It's the real thing. Can't be compromised, can't be hacked. Has a very strong, stable network. All you have to know is your private key. It could be right here, right? It has no borders. It could be used by anybody. And like people say, it banks the unbanked. It can't be inflated. It's a great idea, a great concept. It's a great invention, a great innovation. However, it's a currency. Okay. So when people think about investing, they think about stocks, think about bonds, commodities, real estate, but people don't think of currencies as an investment. Now, like I said, if you do, you have to come to a conclusion about what it's actually worth. So you have to buy Bitcoin based on its growth, based on its actual utility, based on who's using it to buy stuff. So let's take a look at this. Let's actually look at what the utility is by looking at this graph. Now, what's important here? The remittance services, because the remittance services actually tells you invoicing, people using it for business. You see, that's the whole value of Bitcoin. You can't just look at the payment and wallet and exchanges because a lot of that can be speculative. Because in order to obtain Bitcoin for an investment, you have to just buy from somebody else. So that's a transaction. Now, that's not used for commerce. I'm talking about using it for commerce. That's the value here, guys. So what is that? Remittance services. Now look at the remittance services. Now this includes everything, not just remittance services. It includes all these three criteria, right? All these three statistics. So look at it, 3.4 billion, 4.2 billion. Look at 2022. Now, if you just look at the color, you see this area here, remittance services, it really hasn't moved that much. And now if you look at the entire projection, which is 10 years, it's 26.7%. All right, that's the US Bitcoin market. Now, obviously, this is just the United States, but the United States happens to have the largest amount of Bitcoin volume. So here you can see total transactions. This is everything all around the world, all transactions. Let's say it's even speculative, right? Everything, all Bitcoins that are being bought and sold and transactions themselves. Let's take a look. We'll go back to 2020. It's 489.61 million. Right here in 2024, it's 946.56 million, right? So think about that. If you look at those two numbers, I mean, it hasn't even doubled. If you look at the price of Bitcoin from 2020 to where it is now. So in 2020, it was around $5,043. The last price is almost 43,000. That's over an 800% increase. That is an explosive increase in the price. The utility itself has not grown even close to 800%. Now let's look at more about that utility. Let's try to get more information about where this is actually growing. Now here's something to look at. Number of Bitcoin ATMs in the US. And again, this is just the United States. Now Bitcoin ATMs could be for speculation. It could be they just want to buy it to store it. That's possible. But it could also be for commerce. But you don't have 800% here. And of course, and all because a Bitcoin ATM is being installed doesn't mean that it's being used a lot. So even if you look at total transactions, right? All the transactions that are taking place in the past 3 years, they haven't even doubled. There should be some equilibrium to the actual growth rate. Now let's use a stock as an example, like Microsoft, right? Now here's a company has an average annual rate of 18.4%. That's actually under 60% compared to Bitcoin's growth rate, right? And you look at Microsoft, it's 18.4%. So let's see how much the price has gone. It was around $155 a share, and it closed today at around $370. This represents around 138% return. Now the growth rate, if you take the past few years, right, you take 18.4%. So if you take the past few years, 18.4%, it's not as high as 138% increase in the price. But keep in mind, you just need a few more years of that consistent growth rate, right? And it's actually going to match the price increase. Now, is Microsoft overvalued? Yeah, you could say it's overvalued now. Is it very overvalued? No, just a few years of 18.4%, and you're at the 138%, and you can predict it easier because you can see what the company's doing. You can look at their PEG ratio. You can see their net income. You can see their operating cash flow. You can see their debt. There's a lot of things to go on. They have products and services that they sell. It's a very diversified company. It has a wide economic moat, and it pays a dividend too, right? Bitcoin does none of that. Bitcoin is a currency. So it's really difficult to figure out what it's worth. I'm looking at the compounded annual growth rates. This doesn't even come close. 800%, no way. Is it worth 10,000? Is it worth 15,000? Maybe. You know, say it's worth 100 to 200%. It has some very high growth in certain characteristics, like I was just talking about before with the ATMs that are increasing. Obviously, people are using it more. So it's growing. The utility is growing, but not by 800%. It has something else to consider. The stock market was really strong last year. The NASDAQ was very strong. The S&P was strong last year. So if you look at the direction of the overall market, Bitcoin tends to follow it. Now, of course, Bitcoin goes up a lot more when the market goes up, and it goes down a lot more when the market goes down. The point is the trajectory. So what does that indicate? It means it's speculative. It means money is coming in and people are investing in all kinds of things. It doesn't just go into stocks. It goes into bonds. It can go into commodities. It goes into cryptocurrencies also. It's speculative. So is Bitcoin overvalued? Yes, it's very overvalued. The growth rate of Bitcoin does not justify the increase in the price, as I just illustrated here. This is a long-term chart of Bitcoin. As you can see right here, it seems to be forming a point of support in the 3, 4, 5, 6,000 range. Seems to be bouncing around over here. Seems like it keeps hitting this and keeps coming up, hits it, keeps coming up. Here's where it really broke out, came crashing down, up, crashed again, and now it's coming back up again. So this indicates a lot of volatility. See, I think this is just a lot of speculative action that you have here. This is not based on utility. This is utility right here. Bitcoin is trying to find a valuation for itself based on the lack of speculation. And that's what you have here. There's volatility, but it's nothing like this. So this is very overvalued. Now, can it go higher? Sure, it can. It can go much higher, much, much higher. There's people screaming from the rooftops, Bitcoin, 100,000. There are some saying $1 million. This is speculative. If you're willing to risk your money and put it in this, you have to have some basis as to why you think the price is going to go up. Saying it's just a store of value is not enough, because when it comes out of that store of value, right? When you take it out of that storage, where does it go? It has to have some sort of a use case scenario. It has to have a utility. It has to have a median of exchange capability. And that's really what it is. It's a median of exchange. It has to be that. You can't say something is a store of value if it doesn't have the value when it's removed from the storage, right? Then it doesn't make any sense. You think it's a store of value, you'll take it out, oh, because somebody else will buy it. No, that's the greater fool theory. That doesn't work that way. You take it out because you're actually going to use it. Someone's going to use it to purchase something. That's the store of value. The store of value for gold is also when eventually it comes out of its storage, it's going to be used for something. It can potentially be used for something, just like Bitcoin can potentially be used for something once it comes out of that storage. So what is Bitcoin really worth? Well, based on a strong level of support over many years, I think it's 3, 4, 5,000, 6,000. That could be a level of support to buy it because it looks like that's where the speculation is lacking. But you see the crashes in the stock market. You go back to the years when you have bear markets, you can see the price coming down, especially during 2020 right here. See, the price really came down. And what does that indicate? It indicates it's very speculative. Stock market got hammered for that short period of time when it made this V-shaped recovery. Well, here's your V-shape right here. Here's your V-shaped recovery in Bitcoin. You see, it's the same thing. It's speculative. Now, will it ever go back down there? There's so much speculation going on. I mean, who knows? Then again, the growth can change. Things can happen. This is a very innovative product that you're talking about, despite the fact it's been here for quite a few years already. But things are changing. Bitcoin continues to evolve. I mean, look what's going on now with the payment systems. There was a big problem that Bitcoin was going through with the bottlenecks, the slow, expensive transactions. Well, that's over with. Now you have the Lightning Network, right? Now you could use a Lightning wallet to make transactions. So that has taken care of the slow, expensive transactions. I mean, that's a real innovation. Bitcoin can function as a currency now. But the question is, will it be adopted? Will it be adopted in a wider realm? And this is something nobody knows. Nobody really knows if this is going to happen because it's been here for a long time and it hasn't caught on yet. So that's the question mark. And the question is, do you want to put your money into something, but you have no idea what the future is going to be? You have to look at geopolitical risk. So in conclusion, is it overvalued? Yes, it's very overvalued. And if you want to invest in it, you have to come to a conclusion of what it might be valued at. But this is a very interesting discussion. What do you think about Bitcoin? Do you think of it as just a medium of exchange? Think of it as an investment? Please leave your comments. I'd like to know what you think. Please subscribe. Please like up this video. Thank you for tuning in.